So I'm going to talk to you about my journaling practice and how this has impacted the development of my skill of loving and trusting myself and awareness. Okay. So I keep these journals. I've got a couple different because I ran out of space, of course. But this is my journal, and I started this practice back in a little over a year ago. And inside here, actually, I'll just give you my most recent. So journaling, historically, what we were taught about journaling was really weird. I feel like it was to sit down, write down what went on for our day. It didn't talk anything about awareness or how you were feeling. It almost seemed like you were creating a ledger card of what your day was like. I don't know, that's how I felt like journaling was when I was younger. And so now, I'm gonna get a drink here. So now, what I've developed is a different way to journal. And I'm inviting you now, not an ad, but I do love some Evian. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is invite you to journal, but I'm gonna teach you how to do it, okay? So, journaling looks like this. Journaling looks like realizations. Journaling looks like, what are my aha moments from the day? Journaling looks like when I have an experience, something happens and I recognize something, whether about myself or the situation or the other people or whatever it might be, that we have that, and then what happens is we learn at the moment from whatever it is, and that's what life is meant to do for us. It's meant to create experiences and moments for us to learn and to grow. Well, what happens is we learn, and then we put that memory on a shelf, and we keep quickly moving on with our day and our life. And my bet would be by the next day, you can't remember what that aha was. You knew you had an aha, but you can't quite remember what it was. Or maybe even a week later, you can't remember what it was. So what I do is when I have an aha, I grab my journal. I keep it with me all the time. Oh, here we go. So I'll just give you what I got in here. Just all the goodness. Okay, here we go. So this is from June 13th. So I grab my journal when I have a realization. I grab it, and then I will just write down whatever it was, whatever I learned, whatever the awareness was. So on June 13th, this is what I wrote down. I have a hard time letting myself have fun and letting go, enjoying fully the easygoing, relaxing times. Jumping off the boat gave me the biggest dopamine hit, and I was laughing and I was happy. It's June 13th. Simple. That's all it's just a realization that, man, I really struggle with letting loose, letting go, just having fun. I'm always so serious. And then I usually ask myself a deeper question of, what is it about letting go that makes me feel uncomfortable? That's a really good follow-up question. What is it that has me feeling this way? And for me, I've always felt like I needed to be responsible. So responsible to me did not equal letting go and having fun. Responsible means you don't let go because somebody has to hold on, right? So if I'm not holding on, then who the heck is going to hold on? So therefore, I have a hard time letting loose and just letting it go, like letting life just be fun. There's moments of it, but how much greater and more exciting can my life be if I learn to let go of that fear of needing to grasp on life so tightly and enjoy life and have fun and allow myself to know that nothing bad's going to happen if I let go a little. If I, not just a little, but I just enjoy and be myself, open up and be me, right? Okay, I'm getting so wet from the rain right now. Okay, so that then gives me where I'm wounded, like where I need to heal, what it is inside of me that I was taught probably when I was young, little, or through my relationships, that I needed to behave this certain way in order to try control what was around me, in order for me to feel safe, in order for me to feel loved. Okay, I hope you're following what it is that I'm saying in this example. We all have different experiences. We're all going to have different examples. I'm just giving you mine so that this can start to land a little bit for you. Here we go. So That's a good one too. We'll keep all the men out of this. Not all the men, amen. Okay, let's see. Oh, right here. So how did I end up in the Bahamas? I was in Italy, you guys. I was in Italy. Okay, just like super personal example. So I was in Italy and I had planned on staying for an entire another week. And by this turn of events, I'm going to tell you what happened. So I happened to be in a city called Como. And when I was there, I got a message from an old friend who we had been disconnected, had some disagreements. Anyway, contacts me and says, hey, you're in Como. He had left a necklace there and asked if I would come get it and, pick it up. And I had to think about it because I didn't want to. Old Lisa would have just done whatever anybody needed because I needed them to like me. And so I would have been like, yes, and I would have rearranged myself and I would have dismissed whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I would have gone and done this thing for this person to make that person feel good, not caring whether or not I felt good. So that's not Lisa anymore. That's not Lisa Grace. So Lisa Grace thought about it and decided, okay, I'll pick it up, but I'm not rearranging myself or my time in order to accommodate what somebody else needs. I think that sounds mean, right? But it's not. They can come find a way to get it. Okay, I'm belaboring that point. So I ended up picking up the necklace. What happened was the morning I was supposed to pick it up, I woke up and I was getting ready to leave Como and I was heading to Verona, and I wake up and I had this feeling and I was like, I'm done with Italy. I'm done with it. And that my plan was to finish Verona, Venice, and then go to Florence. Well, I had this feeling like, you're not going to Florence. You're going to the Bahamas. And I was like, what's happening? And because I trust myself, I was paying attention, I wrote it down. I wrote that down and I was like, okay, and I felt like, all right, this is it. I'm leaving. Okay. So as I realized that, and I was like, why am I going to the Bahamas? Now I'm going to tell you the story about what happened on this beach. And I realized at that moment, I wasn't coming back for somebody else. I was coming back for me, which was what this entire process was all about. And that necklace was just something to push me over the edge. Oops, I just did something odd. It just pushed me over. Okay. So hold on just a second. Okay, there we go. I hit the things. Okay. It's good that I have glasses on. You see me crying? My crazy hair. Okay. So, why am I on this beach? You know what? I'm gonna cliffhanger you for just a second, and I'm going to put that in an entirely different video for you. But what I want you to hear from this right now is we can plan, but if we don't listen and if we're not in tune with ourselves, then we really are missing so many opportunities and experiences that are even greater than what we can plan for. Hands down, 100% of the time. So that doesn't mean that you need to be wild like I am, where I didn't make any plans and would just drop in a place and try to find a place to stay. That was a challenge and a practice that taught me something that I needed to know. That's what that was. But when you plan and hold life so tightly, you keep your box so small and controlled to stay out of feeling fear, to stay out of feeling hurt, because you don't feel like you can survive it. We don't want more hurt. We don't want more pain. because we've already had pain and we don't want to experience more pain. So what we do is put a really, really tight box on what we have going on and what life is, because if we can control it, we can avoid pain. We do things for two reasons. We're either avoiding pain or we're seeking pleasure. It's like, that's what we're shooting for. Avoid pain, seeking pleasure. So when we over control, we're avoiding pain. We're avoiding what it's going to feel like if we fail. We're going to avoid what it feels like if we get lost. We're going to avoid what it feels like if we can't find a place to stay. We're going to avoid what it feels like if our business is going to fail. We're going to avoid what it feels like if somebody doesn't love us back. We're going to avoid what it feels like if we have a hard conversation and we get a negative response back. We're avoiding pain. And what I want you to know is you can survive anything. You can survive more than what you ever could believe you could. You just haven't given yourself the opportunity because it feels terrible. It feels scary. But that's you not trusting that you know best for you, and that what's happening around you and the experiences that you're having are here for you to learn and to grow. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that happens to us, I just want to caveat this right now, there's junk, right? There is crap that happens in our lives. There's people that we lose. There's accidents that happen. There's loves that we lose. There is exponentially an amount of sadness and hurt and pain that can happen and that we've experienced. I get it. I get it. But if you continue to avoid more pain, you are believing that you can't lead through that you can't survive it. And you can. What's happening is you are used to surviving the pain that you know, and you're really good at that. You're used to surviving the circumstances and the pain and what's going on in your life. You're used to surviving that. That the fear that you have is whatever is going to happen in the future, the things that you can't control, that they're going to feel worse than what you are in right now. So therefore, we don't leave what we're in order to graduate to something even greater. We can't find another level of happiness because we are going to stay stuck in the confines of what we've created for ourselves because it feels familiar. And familiar feels safe. That's exactly why we attract what is familiar to us. What was familiar to us as children, what's familiar in relationships, familiar in the way that we've been treated, that is what we attract because it feels safe. But when you can break free, what that looks like is you start to find safety and trust and love within yourself, and that you can lead through and you can experience and you can conquer anything. So my experience that I had in Italy was that I started to realize I can lead through, face, conquer anything. Anything. And here's the other piece of this. We get so used to disappointment sometimes. If you've had too much disappointment in your life or what feels like too much disappointment, which we all can have, if we are experiencing disappointment, we start to expect disappointment as the rule. So if I'm disappointed often and I'm happy sometimes, then what you start to look for is what's going to disappoint me next? What's the next thing that's going to be disappointing to me? What's going to be the next terrible thing that happens? And then you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for something to go wrong. So you're living in reaction mode all the time because you're busy waiting to protect yourself. You stay in protection mode. That is also called survival mode. You're in survival. So you're not living your freaking life. You're not living your life. You're surviving life because you don't feel like you can survive happiness and joy, and you don't truly believe it exists. And you would rather face the hard things that you know exist than to step outside of that box and find hard things that you don't know how to navigate. So what I learned and what I realized in stepping outside my box over and over and over again, I went from a boat to a train, all in a country that I didn't speak the language, to driving a car, to going to different cities, to getting dumped in the middle of nowhere off of the wrong train one time. And every time I was like, oh, I just survived this. And I didn't just survive, I thrived. I expected things to go well. And as I practiced expecting things to go well, then I was looking all the time, more often, for things to go well. If I expect things to go poorly, then I start to look for things to be poor. That makes sense? So you're going to prove right and true whatever it is that you're looking for. If you want to be in pain, if you want to stay in sadness, you will continue to look around you and find all the things that make you feel pain and sad. That's what you're going to prove it. You're going to find the evidence to support the thing that you're looking for. So you have got to flip the switch and you have to start changing what you're looking at. And the way that I flip the switch and start changing what I'm looking at is through journaling. Because if you're not aware of what you're actually looking at or what's coming up for you, what's happening, then you can't make change. You have to wake up first. You have to get up and you have to wake up and you have to be present for your life and you have to make a decision that you want something different. That's the first step in the grace process. You have to be ready for that. Just make that decision. Okay. I'm going to let you go with this one. On June 26th. Actually, let me read this to you because I just told you about this. So, for me, June 26th, I wrote down, feel when you've conquered it and then move to new levels. Part of the awareness is when you get good at something, you start to realize it's not a conscious behavior, like you're not doing it on purpose. You're now doing it unconsciously. Now you're doing it as habit. Gosh. So we always start something like we're not aware of what we're doing. We have all these unconscious behaviors. We have no idea. So the journaling starts to bring it to your consciousness. It starts to bring it to your awareness. You start to now see it happening. So if every time I go out with friends, I feel uncomfortable because I don't like to interact, I'm just giving you an example, but like if I struggle having conversation, has actually happened to me. I went to lunch with somebody in one of the cities in Italy and a friend of his, and we sat down and my small talk conversation needs some work. Okay, let's just say it needs a little bit of work. So we sat down to have conversation, and I'm used to having ultra conversations with all my ultra people. So when we sit down to have this conversation, we're just chatting and we're just at lunch. My question, here's how I start it. Oh, what are your goals for the year? And the girl was like, what? Like, I was like, talk about a mood killer. That wasn't small talk conversation. That was like high level conversation that you don't use in small talk conversations, apparently. Anyhow, so that was something I realized, okay, Lisa, I need to learn how to put myself in more situations so I can practice getting better at small talk. Maybe ask my AI what kind of questions I can ask in those kinds of situations to get to know people and not be so freaking awkward. Okay, that's me, right? But that was my awareness of like what happened. And then I wrote that down and then I'm like, okay, now I can practice that, but I have it written down so I can revisit it. The other reason why you write things down is because then you can track your progress. My notes about what was going on in my life was all about survival. This is my first journal. It was all about survival. And I literally was in victim mode all the time. I always felt like a victim. And so I lived my life that way so other people would treat me that way. I didn't have self-trust. I didn't have self-love. Not the deep kind at all that we need. And so you journal like this, because then you can actually see your progress and give yourself some freaking kudos. Because you are making progress. You don't know you're making progress. I want you to hear that. You are making progress. You don't realize you're making progress because you're not tracking it. You're not aware of it. Awareness is the most amazing gift that we have been given. So journaling is what helps bring that to light for you, and it also helps you go revisit it and see where you've been. It's amazing. And then you've got these lessons. And if you need to go back and revisit a lesson, you go back and revisit a lesson. So good. Okay, so journal. Journal. And now I'm going to tell you about Jaws Beach on the next video.